Hi, I'm Dr. Gina McKenzie, host of the Philadelphia Cultural Forum on CCP TV, the educational channel of the Community College of Philadelphia. Tonight I have with me Assistant Professor of Music at the college, Paul Geissinger. Paul was educated at Temple, where he majored in broadcasting, telecommunications, and mass media and earned both his BA and his MA. He is taught at Temple University, University of the Arts, Cabrini College, and now is an assistant professor here with us at CCP. He is also the owner of Ecclesiastes Records. He produces under the name Starkey for various record labels, including Ninja Tune and Planet Moo, and he is the resident DJ on BBC One Extra. He also, here at the college, leads the Mars Electronic Student Ensemble. So we're lucky to have you with us tonight.
Yeah,
Thanks
for
so
having
much
me.
for joining
Definitely.
us. So let's start with your music. Can you describe it for us?
I'm a music producer, and right now the primary area that I'm working in is electronic music. But it's, at heart, I'm just a producer. I'll work with anyone, bands, single artists, working on my own music, working on behalf of other artists, trying to get their creativity, their sound out, and that's pretty much what I'm doing outside of the teaching here at the college, of course.
Can you talk a little bit about the art of music production? Often I think the public doesn't know exactly what that job entails.
Your goal is to kind of achieve their musical goal. You're the artistic day-to-day coordinator of what's going on. When it comes to composing and producing for like hip-hop artists, a lot of times the producer is like the beat maker. You see that like the backing track is like the kind of industry term for that. And a lot of times the producer is just coming to an artist with a bunch of backing tracks. Sometimes not even work with the artist in the studio. Sometimes it's like a distance thing. Occasionally you're in the studio writing right alongside the artist. So the word producer, it generally means just artistic, day-to-day artistic goal finder. I know it's a terrible term, but your job is to keep the artist's creativity flowing in whatever way
So you're like the
means.
physical muse for them.
I guess, yeah. But a lot of times you're working by yourself too. You'll be sitting in a studio just trying to come up with ideas and things like that. And that tends to be where I write most of my material, is by myself.
How does the process of producing with or for another person differ from your own artistic process?
If it's more mainstream or more pop, obviously the structure of the material changes. It has to follow a pop song structure.
Which can be very formulaic.
Exactly. That kind of basic formulaic structure exists in pop music, and you can deviate from it a little bit, but you can't do too much. When it comes to working with a music that's just mine, maybe it's for a club, or it's more experimental in nature, the structure changes. With dance music, for instance, a lot of the emphasis is put on the drop, when the beat kind of kicks in, and then that's where everyone puts their hands up in the air in the club and thing. That kind of atmosphere, that's important for dance music. So the structures change. But overall, for me, the sound doesn't really change. It's just about the structure and the formula that's there. Maybe if I'm working with a pop singer, the song has to have a bit more of a standard chord progression as well, so they can find their melodic line. When it's just solo or just like instrumental music, I can have a little bit more room for experimentation.
Is that room for experimentation something that you find pleasurable? Yeah,
I like both worlds. I find that my level of experimentation when I'm working on my own music is in different ways. It's maybe like textures and sounds that it would be more difficult for an artist to find their way in the music. Like melodically they wouldn't be able to find themselves as easy.
Right.
More jazzy types of chords, like maybe where there's like ninths and elevenths and things that are a little bit more difficult to hear for a singer. So that's where my experimentation kind of leads me. But sonically, I've been lucky enough to work with artists that are interested in what I can bring to the table. And I think that's the sign of a good producer, someone who can kind of add their own little touch to the band or to the artist. And that's the reason why someone would want to work with someone like myself.
Can you kind of characterize your work, or even explain to the audience what electronic music means? Because that can be such a broad term, but what it means specifically to your work.
Electronic music is really just a generic way of saying that it's produced primarily by computers and synthesizers and samplers, and that maybe I'm not using as many acoustic instruments. Even though I do incorporate some of that, it's more based around what I can do inside my computer and with synthesizers and things like that. Genre-wise, a lot of things influence me, but primarily most of the music I've been doing has been around that this term that's kind of floating around in the music world right now called dubstep, and it's kind of a buzzword in the industry right now. But most of my interest in music came from early UK grime music, which was around in the early 2001, 2002, kind of started to show its face, which was like urban underground, almost like comparable to hip hop in America. That music really sparked my interest in creating electronic music, as well as kind of the electronica sound, which was also called IDM, which was like a word that a lot of people didn't like because it stood for intelligent dance music, and a lot of people thought that was like stupid. And it's just a way of people being able to take a record and stick it on a shelf, or journalists to be able to say, this is this kind of music, and this is, if you like this, you should also buy this. I mean, that's all that these genres mean.
Cross-marketing.
Exactly. So for me, that idea of having it as, these are my influences and this is the kind of music that I'm making, it all just kind of gets bundled together, and for me it's just music. It really doesn't matter. If I want to write something that has tons of classical horns and strings and, I don't know, sounds like it should be in Phantom of the Opera and not in a club, then I'm just going to do that. That's my approach to music. I don't really sit down and think about what I'm going to create or try to fit my music into some kind of niche. That's not important to me.
It's just whatever you're feeling at that particular moment of creation.
Yeah, part of what we do with like the label I run, Sakuzi Aces, is this thing that we created called street bass, which for us is kind of like an urban take on bass heavy dance music. And it's kind of like, it's not a genre, it's more like an attitude to a way of presenting the music. For us, it's basically like, let's take reggae, let's take dancehall reggae, let's take drum and bass, let's take whatever genres of other music, dubstep, grime, hip hop, let's take all these musics, they're all very bass driven, bass heavy, and let's just throw them into one big pot and say we can play whatever we want to play. Let's just call it street bass, and that's kind of part of the attitude that we've had. It's not all of what I do, but it's kind of like one of the driving forces that kind of makes us unique. Our DJ collective, our crew of people, or whatever, and it's a cool buzz term too. It sounds interesting.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, sounds cool. That's all that matters, right?
What inspired you to want to work with music?
I mean, the earliest records that I actually remember that weren't like kid song records, was Thriller was a big one. I used to listen to Thriller all the time, and I remember my mom always loved to listen to like Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals, like Phantom of the Opera, and Jesus Christ Superstar and all that stuff. So that was a huge influence on me as well, just because I was always hearing it. And also the Beatles. I mean, that's where my producer name Starkey comes from too. I'm a huge Beatles fan. So Ringo's name is Richard Starkey, so that's where I got my name.
That's fun.
Yeah. So I would listen to Magical Mystery Tour, the White Album. I would listen to Sgt. Pepper.
Some pretty eclectic.
Yeah, no, I'm not really ashamed to say that I like Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals.
You're not allowed to say that if you're a theater person.
No, but so a lot of people would say that's not cool. And you know what? For me, it's, you get inspiration from all different places. I mean, even music I don't like, it inspires me to make something that sounds completely different than it because I don't like it. So for me, everything you take as an artist, you take in and you kind of use it as your, way of focusing what you're doing as an artist, and that's my approach to writing music.
So we're going to get to listen to a piece of yours in just a few minutes. Can you tell us what inspired this piece particularly? It's
really an improvisation, to be honest with you. It's an idea of a couple things like loops or a couple beats that I just created and then I'm just manipulating in real time. A couple chord progressions, maybe some arpeggios and things like that is really not a specific piece. It may turn into one, which is typically how these things happen. But for this, I just kind of went experimental and did something unique. Most of the performances I do now are DJ performances where I'm like playing individual tracks and mixing them and stuff like that. So it doesn't really work for television just to be standing behind a DJ, turntable and playing records. So this is a little bit more experimental, but I think it also fits along nicely with what Juwan, my colleague, is doing, as well as my ensemble, which is a bit more experimental.
And we're going to get to hear some of the Mars ensemble too. But
cool.
Let's pause for a minute and hear your piece.
Great, thanks.
That notion of experimentation or play is really important for, I think, our student musicians to understand too. Although I think a lot of times they're a little more reticent to get started in improv. Is that true?
It's interesting because our students come from so many different backgrounds. I feel as though some of them come in with like really strong theory backgrounds, like they've studied music in school, and others are just like, I like music, you know, and I like to listen to lots of different kinds of music, and I've never studied it formally. They maybe have a little software on their PCs or Macs or something like that they play around with, Fruity Loops or GarageBand or something like that. But I think by the time they come in here and they kind of run through our sound recording music tech program, they're really exposed to the music side, the theory side, as well as so many of the different workstations that are available out there. We just want to prepare students so that when they get out in the real world, they're prepared to go into any situation where they can just kind of say, look, I've never worked with this piece of software before, but I've studied A, B, C, and D, which are very similar. So I can just get right in there.
Skills to
give
be
me,
able to
give me 30 minutes with it, and I'll figure out how to use it. And that's the goal of our program, is to prepare students for the workforce, really.
And so then how do they come to be a part of the Mars Ensemble?
Students are required to take, as sound recording majors, they're required to take 2 ensembles. So we have a few different outlets for that. We have a choir, we have jazz ensembles, we have a bunch of different things. And one of the things that we decided to do in recent years was create these electronic ensembles. Juwan Park runs one, and then I run another one.
And Juwan is another professor here at the college in the music program.
Yeah, and for me, I did something similar when I was at UArts, actually, where I did a like kind of all laptop ensemble. And it was a lot of fun because the students are coming from a completely different background. Some are more into it than others. You know, I mean, that's a common thing. So I thought, why not even take it a step further with this group? Let's introduce vocals. Let's really introduce like a front person in the group. Let's have the students not only writing all the music, but also writing lyrical content, organizing the music, spending time outside of the college, working together, collaborating, and that's the direction I went with this group. They're recording the songs outside of school. They're really passionate about it, and it's almost like we've built this little community within our major for people to kind of be a part of something that not only do we perform here at school, but now this past semester we were out in the community performing as well.
That's
electronic
a
nights and stuff
fantastic
like that.
opportunity for our students and for the audience at home to get to hear our students.
Yeah, people came out and were like, "Wow, this is going on at CCP," and like, that's great. And I'm like, "Yeah, come check us out. We do these things here. We really do." And it's nice to build that camaraderie within our student body as well. And it's something they want to do. Like they look forward to coming to the rehearsals and things like that.
So the student performance that we're going to hear is something that was actually made possible by the Cal and Lucille Rudman Media Project, which is something exciting happening for us at the college. And this particular excerpt was something from the Cal and Lucille Rudman Innovative Music Series, correct?
Yeah.
Great. And we're going to get to see that whole performance as a special on the channel at another time, but now we can listen to a portion of it.
Great.
I wanna go somewhere where no man has gone before. Dotted these comments and afterwards. Get to your galaxy, how far you willing to let me explore.
That's us.
Baby, I can see the earth from here. It gets so hot up here, but we can fly away from here. Baby, I can see the earth from here, and I can see the stars from here, and we can fly away. Yeah. Don't take the rocket, let's take the station. You know I got it. Let's go stargazing. The view is amazing, baby, it's gorgeous. Just feel my love wrapped around your orbit. I got more for you, I keep it coming. Look at the stars, baby, watch where I'm going. Look at them napping up in there. It's turning up the sweet, the hottest thing in here.
What a wonderful way to include our students and work with them and really guide them.
Yeah. No.
How are they reacting to this process?
Every week, people come in with new material, and we listen to it, and we vote on it. It's like, yes, no, we don't, we like it, we don't like it, and 90% of the stuff we like. So we figure out a way of incorporating it into it. The only thing that I probably do is say, well, I think this works well with this, or maybe we should change the tempo of this so it matches this other song.
Then you're really their producer.
I could just sit on the sidelines, but they like me to be involved, so that's cool.
That's
but
great.
really, I spent most of the time during this performance just making sure the levels were good. I didn't do too much other than that. I was just sitting in front of the mixing board. Everyone has their own channel. We're all kind of summing the stuff together. The students are using their own ears to try and find out where things are happening in the mix. But it's difficult sometimes when you're trying to hear what you're doing and you're maybe not the center of attention. Someone else's part in the song is supposed to be the center of attention. So you kind of get lost in that. So I was just there to kind of help that process out.
So will that project get to continue in subsequent semesters, or you'll
Yeah,
have different
I think
ensembles?
So. Yeah,
coming through?
yeah, definitely. Mars is going to continue as an ensemble, I think. This is only our second semester, so a lot of these students are graduating, but there's plenty of other people who have seen our performances who are really interested and eager to be a part of the ensemble.
If we want to hear some of your work, where can we find it?
Starkey, Starkey -music.com. I'm also Facebook, Starkey Music, and Twitter, StarkBotBeats, StarkBotBeats.
All right, everybody out there got it? Need
Got
to
it?
follow him now.
Yeah, come check me out. I play in Philly pretty regularly as well, or my label throws events. It's seclusiasis.com. That's SeclusiaSis.com.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a joy having you with us
Yeah,
tonight,
great.
and amazing to hear your music and
Thanks.
your students' music as well.
Thanks so much.
So thanks for coming on with
Definitely.
us tonight.
Of course.
And thank you, audience. Good night.